thoughts. I got me a nice haircut, so looking a little bit more cleaned up, but we're doing good. Awesome. Well, welcome to A Game for Your Thoughts. Today we're going to be talking about Rise of the Tomb Raider. So we're continuing on our Tomb Raider journey. We first did 2013's reboot of Tomb Raider. Now we're jumping into the next game, Rise of the Tomb Raider. So this game is the sequel, and it follows Lara as she chases after this treasure. After the events of the island she survived on, she's now going through her father's research, and she found that he was kind of obsessed with this treasure. It's called the Divine Source, and it was theory to give immortal life. And so she takes it upon herself to go out and find this treasure and kind of fulfill his work. But of course, there's the mysterious group Trinity, who's also after it as well, and they are just this brutal military group that will do anything they can to obtain what they need. And so it's a race between Lara and Trinity to get the treasure and find the Divine Source first. So me in this game was kind of tricky because I love this game so much. I think when I think about it, this game goes in my top 10 games of all time. I'm not kidding. And I'll go through and tell you why. But when I look at other reviews and stuff, they seem to have a lot of problems. But me personally, I loved this game so much, and I can't wait to talk about it. The story of Rise of the Tomb Raider is far better than the story from the 2013 reboot. If you saw my review for that one, you knew I had a lot of problems with this story. Just there wasn't really much there. But yet again, my expectations were in check with that one, so it didn't bother me all that much. But yet again, character development of the side characters was pretty much non-existent. But I really loved Lara's development as she went from just kind of being this go-get-'em adventurer to all of a sudden now she's this hardened survivor that has to do anything she can to survive. But when I look at the overall arc of the trilogy, of this rebooted trilogy, I can see this middle step Lara takes. Because like I said, she goes from this go-get-'em adventurer to this brutal survivor. And now here she's just almost the adventurer Lara that we know and loved from the original games. And so this is a perfect step, because then you see her in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and she's more of that character that she becomes, and I'll talk about that more later on when my Shadow of the Tomb Raider review coming soon. And but this middle step here, it's a really, really good step. She develops more and gets closer to being that character we all know. So the characters in this game have way more, I'm way more invested in the characters, and they're actually enjoyable, and the bad guys had some solid motivations, and I can actually tell you their names, compared to the bad guy from the first game, who I couldn't even tell you his name. But Lara has this motivation to go out and get this treasure to fulfill her father's work. I mean, it ended up costing him his life, and so she has this motivation. She's like, I gotta do this for my father, I have to do this for myself. So whenever a situation arises where it would just be so easy for her to just give up and just be like, Lara, get out of here, you're way over your head. She's like, no, I have to do this for my dad. And it was super heroic and awesome, and it made me love her character even more, because she just was so dedicated and would do anything she could to protect her friends and fulfill her dad's work, and it was so well done. Like I said, the bad guys in this game are far better than the ones from the last game. I think they were the Sun Cult people, I don't know their names exactly, but these guys, Trinity, there's two of them that are kind of the main ones over this group of Trinity, because it's a large organization, and so these two guys, Anna and Constantine, are over this section of Trinity, and they're looking for this treasure, and they are trying everything they can to they just take out anything in their path. I mean, there's natives that live in the area, and they're just capturing them, mowing them down, whatever they have to do to get them. And as the story continues, you see their motivations. You see these two characters' motivations, not only for themselves, but for the organization. And you can kind of see as the story progresses, it becomes more for themselves and less for the organization. The overall story, it was so well done and such a big improvement over the last game. I actually felt like it made it even better, because you're like, wow, compared to the last game, that was not that good. And then this one is amazing. And so, looking at it as a legit, really good story, no, it's not a perfect story, not at all. There's lots of problems, the writing kind of whatever, but as for a Tomb Raider game, the story was awesome, and it was really, really done. And I think the best thing was, yet again, that character development, Lara's character, building up to the character we know. And this is a good, perfect middle step. And then the ending of the story, it leaves you with an excited tone. There's obviously a third game. It's come out, but at the time, the third game is still on the horizon. But for this story, it leaves you with an excited taste. You're like, ooh, I'm excited to see what comes next, because it leaves on such a note where you're just like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens. And for a trilogy of things, you're supposed to do that. Empire Strikes Back, look at that movie. It is the perfect setup for that third film in that series, and this is exactly what that game does. And I find it yet another parallel, because I find Empire Strikes Back to be the best Star Wars movie, and I think Rise of the Tomb Raider is the best Tomb Raider game. So the gameplay elements are pretty much the same as they were. If you saw my review, I broke it down into exploration, discovery, and combat. And I'll do the same thing here. I just won't be as detailed, because a lot of it is fairly similar. There's just a lot of improvements And I actually liked it a lot better in this game. The gameplay in this game was so much fun. And what makes it so fun is it has such a good tone, or not tone, pacing. It has such great pacing because one moment you'll be scaling these awesome ice caverns, just like using your axes to climb around, and then the next second you're in a hot shootout. And it was so awesome and entertaining that it just added such a good pace because it went from kind of a slow, nice exploration crawling to all of a sudden a hot firefight with a bunch of guys and things are blowing up and going crazy. And it just, yet again, it adds a really good pace to the story in the game. So the exploration in this game is far improved on the first game. I loved the exploration in the first game. It was actually some of my favorite parts were the exploring parts because Lara just is climbing. She's got these climbing axes. She now has two of them and it's totally badass. Doesn't change how it plays at all. Maybe she climbs a little bit faster, but just her movements are pretty more fluid. And as a game, that was really welcome. I loved how it felt really smooth and fast. But like logically, it doesn't make sense. But this whole game, you have to pretty much throw logic out the window because there's just some ridiculous things. But as you progress through the story, you find so many more items and things out in the world that help Lara expand her abilities. And so now you have like grapple axes and you can just move around the world a lot better. And it was so much fun and such a great time. And I'm going to make this comparison real quick, but Uncharted, the climbing sections actually got a lot dull for me because they were kind of just climb through a section and it was whatever and it was fine and they were good. But this, it was way more exciting. It was all so much fun and probably one of my favorite aspects of this game. I mean, I love just exploring and climbing. It was so much fun. At the very, very end of the game, you have this big climb you have to do to get up this tower to reach the final boss, and it was so exciting because you use all of your abilities you've learned, and it was kind of just a good last hurrah. I mean, you did everything that you've done previously in the game, but it was all just set up a lot better, and there was good, like, you know, transitions, things like that, and it was so well done, and such an exciting part of the game that was definitely very memorable. Now for discovery, so this one is largely the same. If you remember, you're running around the island collecting documents, relics, and like audio recordings to kind of fill in some spaces with lore and also discover the history of the place that you're at. And this one does pretty much the same thing. Yet again, you're collecting these documents and relics and exploring the world and and discovering the history of the place you're in. But I feel like this one does it better because it actually has a lot of storytelling elements to it. For example, I found a series of scrolls or letters detailing the story of this guy who was searching for this religious figure, and you follow him along his trek through these Siberian mountains and reading his journey along the way. And it was such an entertaining thing that I was like, oh cool, you could pick back up this story because you wouldn't hear about it for a long time. Then you pick up a document, be like, oh wait, that's right, I remember that. This guy was tracking this other guy, and you just read about it. And it was super entertaining and cool, and yet again built up on that story building that I thought was really well done. And then the mechanic to observe and zoom in on relics to find hidden information is back. It's pretty much the same thing, it's just now there's new relics that are more tailored to the environment that you're in. And this was still fun and awesome and such a cool, unique thing. All of this came together to give me such great motivation to explore every corner of the world. And this world is beautiful. It is one of the best looking worlds in games. Like, it just looks so well done, and I'll talk about that later. And our optional tombs are back, like the first game. Each tomb has kind of a sort of puzzle, and after you complete the puzzle, you get some sort of reward that'll help increase your abilities or your weapons or something like that. And they're back in this game, and I actually found them a lot better. The puzzles are just like so clever and well thought out, and they were so much fun, and these environments were just such a joy to explore. I'm going to talk about the puzzles real quick because they were so well done. There were so many puzzles in this game that were just so creative and unique. Each one was different. Like, you had all your different pieces, and you had to just make sure you had all the right pieces and where they went. They were never like overly difficult where I just had to like give up, but they were difficult enough where I had to kind of sit there and think. And I think I made this joke in the last one, but I had like, okay, so that does that, that does that, that affects that, so I have to do that, to do that, to do that. And you piece it all together and you feel so clever, and then you get that reward at the end. You're like, yeah, I did it. That was so much fun, and yet again, probably one of the best parts of the game. This was also thrilling and came together to make exploring the world so much fun, and such an enjoyable time of the game was just exploring and solving puzzles and finding documents to fill in the history of the place you're in. Now to combat. If you remember right, in the last game I had some complaints with combats with the AI being kind of silly. Like they just do stupid things. It's like, why would you do that? And then also headshots were abhorrently easy to obtain because guys would be taking cover and like their head would just be poking out, and then you could just take them out with a headshot, and it was actually kind of elementary. But then they fixed it later on by adding varied enemies that made it so you couldn't really just stand there and aim and shoot them. Well, this game does fix a lot of problems with the AI, since it kind of does make sense because these guys are more of like a military trained group. They do a little bit more tactics. I mean, you get flanked by guys, you'll be shooting somebody, but then all of a sudden somebody will show up on your right, and you're like, oh shoot, I wasn't paying attention. And yet again, it was a problem on my end because I wasn't paying attention. But then the headshot thing is back and still a problem. I mean, there were so many situations where I could just kind of stand out and open and just take guys out, and it was just kind of elementary. But yet again, these new tactics and varied enemies fix that problem pretty quick. I mean, early on you get introduced with guys with shotguns and armor and all that stuff. And so you had to change your tactics a little bit, so you couldn't just stand out in the open and just shoot guys with headshots. I mean, headshots, yes, were still easy to obtain, but varied enemies helped made it so that it wasn't as easy to just stand there and pick them off one by one. And the bow and arrow is back, and yet again, it was a really odd choice to have Lara Croft use a bow and arrow, but it was so much fun, and it's just so easy to use. And it was exciting, it was fun. And this helps actually add a stealth mechanic to the game. They add a lot of mechanics and skills and abilities that add stealth. And while there was kind of stealth mechanic, not stealth mechanics, but stealth abilities in the first game, this one has more stealth mechanics and things like that. I mean, you can now, if you shoot an enemy, you can like highlight them, and it'll be like, oh, okay, if you kill that guy, someone else is going to see. Or if you kill that guy, nobody's going to know because he's kind of off doing his own thing. And this was all really cool and exciting. It added so much freshness to the combat, and it made it just varied and different, and it kept it fresh. And the stealth was never really required. It just helped you get more XP, and it made you feel like a total badass. While it was unfortunate to see some of my problems I had with the first game make a return, it also made it nice because they added so many things that were really awesome that I kind of made up for it, and I kind of looked past that. But the combat overall was so much fun, and I had a great time with it, and it just was a good change of pace from exploring and discovering to now having awesome hot shootouts that were lots of fun. As you complete challenges or relics and find journal entries and things like that, kill enemies, you gain XP, and every time you gain a certain amount of XP, you get a skill point. And they have a nice, good-sized skill tree, and I actually had a hard time choosing which perks I wanted because all of them were actually really, really cool. So it was hard for me to be like, oh, do I want that first or do I want that first? I mean, I get them both eventually, but which one did I want first? Because I know I'd use them both. And so they did a really good job with this system, as it kept you excited. You're like, oh, cool, I leveled up, now I can get something new. Because all these skills are actually useful and worthwhile. They heavily improve upon the resource collecting. In the last game, you can mostly kind of just collect tree branches and salvage parts. And I think that was kind of about it. Maybe cloth, I can't remember. But you use these things to upgrade your weapons. And this same thing is kind of back, but it's far improved. Now there's so many more resources. You have like furs and rocks and minerals and explosives and springs, things like that. And you just, as you explore the world, breaking open crates, looting dead bodies, hunting animals, you obtain these resources, and you use these resources to yet again improve your weapons and to increase your storage. And it just puts some good motivation to yet again explore the world and go out of your way to try to find what you need. And of course, the scripted linear cinematic sequences are back. And yet again, it's super linear. You're literally just running and jumping, but it's so exciting and so fun. I mean, you're just like, one of my favorite moments in a long time, like this made me go like, wow, out loud, was at the very, very beginning of the game. And it was one of these scripted moments. And it was just so fun and exciting. And of course, they're totally ridiculous. And it's like, there's no way anybody could survive that. No way. But they're super cool and fun, and just a major highlight of this game. Yet again, there was that part at the very beginning of the game that was a major moment of mine. And the graphics in this game are just stunning. They are so beautiful. I mean, right off the bat, you can see that in the snowy mountains. You're just like, wow, this game looks awesome. Just the characters also, they look really smooth. The models are nice, and you know, even everybody looks really real. And Lara got a redesign from the first game, and she's hot. So hot. I mean, come on. Look at her. She's hot. There's like a bunch of like effects and physics and stuff like that that just make things feel so much more organic. I mean, even Lara's hair, There's one cutscene where she's like moving and talking, not like that. I mean, who does that? But she's just moving and talking to different people, and as she turned her head, you could like see her hair kind of like droop over her shoulder, and it would like move around. And then when she'd stop moving, you could kind of see it settle and like slowly like drip over her shoulder. It was really cool, and I'm just talking about her hair now because it looked awesome. But it was a really cool effect that I absolutely noticed because it was just so well done. But the world and the environment around you was just so like detailed and looks so amazing. I mean, right off the bat in this game, you go into this tomb and it's like super cinematic, and you're like in this dark, watery cave, and it just looks awesome, and it's so cool and well done. Some of the best parts of this game were exploring the environments and just seeing how good everything looked. It was such an amazing thing, and it still holds up today, like 3 years later. I thought the lighting was really well done. I mean, the sun would interact with water and everything like that, and it just looked really cool. And then the snow looked awesome. I mean, the snow effects were really, really cool. And then when you go into a dark cave, Lara would crack open a glow stick, and it would like shine its glow stick light everywhere, and it just looked really, really cool. And it just made, yet again, exploring this world so much fun. Now, I had the PlayStation 4 version, which was the 20th anniversary edition, and this one came with all the added DLC and some new outfits and stuff. And so at campfires, you could change Lara's outfit and make her look kind of just have different outfits. And this was a lot of fun. I actually had a lot of fun with this. And just there's a bunch of cool outfits. And there's even one, a throwback to Tomb Raider 3. And then these new DLCs, there was the exploration of Croft Manor, and you can just kind of walk around the manor and discover some past of Lara's childhood and also her father. And that was really, really cool, and I had a good time with that. Then there's Lara's Nightmare, which was a fun survival horror-esque experience. I mean, it was just kind of something silly, but it was a lot of fun, and I recommend checking these out if you do happen to have this edition, or if you want to buy the DLC, go for it. They're going to be a lot of fun. And there's the expeditions. I don't know if these are in the other editions. They seemed like an add-on for my 20th anniversary edition, so I have no clue. But these were a lot of fun. They were straight-up survival experiences. It would throw you out in an environment, and you had to collect resources to survive. You had to collect, wood and cloth to start fires, and you had to go hunting to get food so you didn't starve to death. But also you had to go and try to explore and collect as many points as you could get, and then you could do it over and over and over and try to get more points. And this was an exciting addition that was a lot of fun that kept me having more fun even after the story was over. So all these additions were lots of fun, and I'd actually recommend checking them out. They're going to be worth your time. So in the end, I loved this game so much. It was such a great time, and I just had so much fun exploring this world and just exploring and discovering things. It was just such a great time. And the story was vastly improved over the first game, and it was, I could see the motivations, and I loved Lara's development. She's such an amazing character, and I'm in love with her, I'm not going to lie. All your new tools and abilities you obtain, they are really well done and very welcome additions, especially the broadhead arrow climbing, which I feel like was an underdeveloped mechanic. I had a lot of fun with it, but you don't really use it all that much because it shows up really later on in the game. Discovering the world was so much fun, and all the puzzles that you were introduced to were lots of excitement, and they were really well done. They had lots of all the different pieces to it. Well, they weren't challenging, they were fun. I mean, there was a couple of them that had me thinking for a bit. I was bummed that the combat didn't have those improvements I wanted to see, but they added lots of things to it that made it so much fun. Like the stealth mechanics were really enjoyable and welcome addition. This game just looks amazing. It looks so good, and I love it, and looks great. Exploring this world just becomes so much better because it just looks so well. The 20th anniversary editions, you get all the DLCs, which were worthwhile additions that were lots of fun. So if you love a good action adventure game, or you love the Tomb Raider series and for some reason haven't played this, you need to play this game. It is such a fun action adventure experience that I love so very much. And like I said, it goes in my top 10 best games of all time just because I had so much fun with this. And it just looks so well, and I loved it. This game holds a very special spot in my collection and will definitely be revisited many times because it is just such a fun and awesome experience. So that's my review for Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I hope you enjoy it. I really love this game, and I'd recommend checking it out. So thank you for all your support. I really appreciate it. I mean, I've just hit a lot of different milestones for all my websites and YouTube page. So I really appreciate that. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And don't forget to keep supporting. I really appreciate that. And share with your friends. Tell your friends. I want to keep growing and doing this, and I can't do that without you guys. And so I really appreciate that. So thank you. Don't forget to check me out on social media, Instagram, Twitter, at A Game For Your Thoughts on both of those. And yeah, I think that's it. Stay tuned for Shadow of the Tomb Raider coming up later this week. And we'll catch you next time on A Game For Your Thoughts. Thanks for watching.